Welcome back to Bits and Breaches. Today we're pulling some highlights from our recent webinar on spring cleaning your IT. I'm here today with Joshua Holloway. Josh, you kicked things off with a pretty bold statement. You said a simple exercise could save a business up to $10,000 a month, and that definitely got people's attention. How does that actually work?
Thanks, Mira. Yeah, it's a big number, but the key is spotting messy systems. Most businesses focus on outcomes. They look at reports, revenue, performance, all that. But what I want them to look at are the interruptions along the way. Things like files that don't sync properly, reports that still have to be built manually, or all those little workarounds employees use just to get through their day. Individually, they don't seem like a big deal. But when you stack them up across a team, you're talking hundreds of lost hours every year.
Yeah, that adds up fast. Another thing you mentioned that stood out was shadow IT. It sounds harmless on the surface, but you made it clear it's not. Why is that such a big money drain?
Because it sneaks up on you. Shadow IT is when employees or teams go out and grab their own tools. Maybe it's a $20 a month subscription here, another one there, and nobody's really tracking it. Before long, you've got multiple tools doing the same job and you're paying for all of them. But honestly, the bigger issue isn't even the cost, it's the risk. We've seen situations where, for example, medical staff are putting personally identifiable information into unsecured AI tools just to speed up their notes. There is no malicious intent. They are just trying to work faster, but now you've got sensitive data sitting in places it shouldn't be.
That's actually kind of scary. And speaking of AI, you also brought up something I don't think a lot of people think about: token costs, these runaway AI bills. Is that really happening?
Oh, it's very real. If you connect a credit card to an AI API and don't put limits in place, things can spiral quickly. You can wake up to a bill for $10,000, maybe $30,000, sometimes more. There was even a case where a student ended up with a $120,000 bill because their account wasn't secured and other people were using their tokens. The way I explain it is this: think of token spend like employee spend. If you're using AI, you're essentially paying a digital worker to do tasks. And just like with a real employee, if there's no oversight, costs can get out of control.
That's a really helpful way to think about it. So let's talk solutions. You introduced something called the reset mindset. What does that actually look like in practice?
The reset mindset isn't about wiping everything out and starting over. It's about being intentional. You look at every tool and ask two simple questions. Does this solve a real problem today? And is anything else already doing the same job? What we usually find is that businesses are only using about 20% of what their tools can actually do. But if you focus on training your team, sharing knowledge, and tightening things up, you can push that to 60 or even 70%. That's when you finally start seeing the return you expected in the first place.
That makes a lot of sense. So, how often should businesses be doing this kind of reset? Is once a year enough?
I'd say quarterly is the sweet spot. Every 3 months, take a look at what you're using, what you're paying for, and what's actually delivering value. A really easy win is checking licenses before renewals. You'd be surprised how many companies are paying for seats that no one is using anymore. The first time you do this, it takes a bit of effort, but after that, it becomes much quicker and more focused.
All right, last question, and this is for anyone listening who feels completely overwhelmed by all of this. What's the first step?
Start simple and don't do it alone. Ask your team, run a quick survey, find out what tools they actually use where things are breaking down and where they're using band-aid fixes just to get work done. Your employees usually have the clearest view of where the gaps are and often the best ideas for fixing them. And honestly, it comes down to just getting started. You don't need to solve everything at once. Just find that first step and move toward it.
That's great advice. Thanks for sharing your insights, Josh. That's it for today's episode of Bits and Breaches. If you want to dive deeper, check out the full webinar and don't forget to follow so you don't miss what's coming next. Start your IT spring cleaning now, and we'll see you in the next one.